Hi, I'm going to read you something that I wrote recently, and I will likely expand on it at the end. And that is when you believe that it's what they are doing that has you feel what you're feeling, that's what you have to come to terms about. Because it's not what anyone else is doing that's causing you to feel any kind of way. It's what you're doing with your thoughts and whether or not your opinion about something lines up with what God or source or your inner being, whatever you want to call it, what that phenomenon's opinion is about whatever it is that you are giving your attention to at any given moment in time. And if it does line up, if what you're giving your attention to and the opinion that is there for you about that thing, if that is a match to what God or source or your inner being, whatever you want to call it, if that phenomenon holds the same opinion that you are holding about that same thing that you are giving your attention to, then in that moment in time, you feel great. And if it does not line up, if your opinion about whatever you're giving your attention to does not line up with God, source, your inner being, that phenomenon, it has an opinion too about the same thing. And if its opinion about the same thing that you are considering is different than your opinion, you are going to experience a split in your energy. Because at all times, it is about you coming together, you merging with the larger aspect of you, God, source, the universe, whatever you want to call it. It's for you to be jiving and running in time with that. You and God, source, the universe, you need to be running in time with one another. And when you're not, what happens is this. Your opinion is like this. Because look, you diverted. Because if you were thinking the same thing and it's thinking the same thing, then you're right there running together in time with each other. But if you think something that diverts away from or that is different from what God, source, the universe, your inner being is thinking, then you are off in the bushes. You are, somewhere else in your thinking, and that causes a split in your energy, and that is uncomfortable. You will never feel good when you are away from holding a different opinion to or seeing something different than what God, source, the universe sees it as. You want to see, because God, source, the universe, your inner being, whatever you want to call it, has the bird's eye view and can see through everything. It can see into your future moments in time that you are not privy to and understands the path of least resistance to getting you there, what would be best for you, what you would enjoy the meaning, what you would enjoy the most, and would therefore make an ultimate difference in cultivating and bringing the most joy and therefore expansion into your experience. You see, so it really comes down to that. It really comes down to nothing is more important than that in any given moment in time, you are running in time with God or the universe or your inner being. Because if you're not, and safe to say, it knows, you don't know. You find out about it, but you don't know about it ahead of time, let's say. It knows about it ahead of time, you don't. So your soul work is to be holding the same stance, vibrating the same as, being one in your energy with that which you call God. And there's no way you can do that if you are in any given moment in time in your mind worrying and fretting or complaining. So then at that point, you're off in the bushes, because God, source, the universe is not worrying. It is not fretting. It is not complaining. And what you want in any given moment in time is to be hearing from God, to be hearing from your inner being. Because it has all the answers. And that's its job, is to guide and direct you. Just like, what is your GPS's job? Is it your job to guide and direct your GPS? Yes or no? No, it's not. And when you try to do that, what happens? Oh, you're lost, right? Yeah, so it's not about what's going on, but rather whether or not you are in alignment with your thinking, or you could say in your thinking, with Source, your inner being, or not, about any subject in any given moment in time. God, Source, your inner being, that phenomenon has complete oversight and knows what's best for you in relation to everything ahead of time, and how to get you to all the things that you're wanting through the path of least resistance, which will be the most enjoyable route for you, as much as you will allow that to happen, because that can't happen when you're all bound up in resistance and you're worrying and fretting. Then you don't get to go down. You're still going. The universe is never going to stop leading you to where you've shown it that you want to go. But there's no way when you're in that sort of state that it can lead you down a smooth road. You can't then be taking a smooth road or a smooth path, because people that are all bound up in worry and anxiety and all of this, they're not driving down smooth roads. They're driving down bumpy roads and roads that suck, and life sucks. And because life has to prove out to you, it has to mirror back to you what you think, and more importantly, what you feel, which is your inner state. Because your outward is but a manifestation, a reflection of your inner world. So you see, it's not that at that point, like, okay, now you've stopped, and now, okay, the car has stopped and we can't go anywhere because that's happening. No. No. It's like if you were in a river. The river does not stop. The river is going, going, going. You can plant your feet down at the bottom of the river and get the life beaten out of you, or you can take your feet up and then we keep going on, right? But the river doesn't stop. And life does not stop at all, ever, leading you towards what it is that you've shown it that you want and you prefer. But it's you that gets to decide what that journey is like, and how much you want to expedite that trip, because it depends upon what you're generating, and those feelings and emotions that are on the inside of you that are creating your experience as you go along. Nobody can put feelings on the inside of you, like literally, like I can't cut you open and then we put feelings on the inside of you and stitch you back up. No, nothing like that's going on, right? Now, people can, present certain things that may encourage, certain sort of likely reactions for you. And listen, and I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of it, because oftentimes our minds then want to come up with the most horrendous and horrific examples of, yeah, but come on, if you were living that, or if that happened to you, that happened to those poor people those many years ago, or that's happening now, or X, Y, and Z. But, and I cannot speak for those people, not that they're different, but it's tricky when we want to look outside of our own experience, because we only have enough experience around our experiences. And so now, when you want to deal with something that you're not living, or want to consider what it's like for somebody else, you cannot accurately do that. You can only assume, because the thing is, truly, why do you even want to project all of those worst case scenario examples anyway? That's not necessarily going to help to prove something out or not. Just because, you don't know all the ins and outs of why certain things are happening. And a lot of the times, those really extreme, blown out of proportion situations, they were known about on a soul level. You are mostly soul. This flesh, blood, and bone apparatus that you're using for a time, that's just going to get thrown in the ground and have dirt kicked over it, that is the least of you. But we oftentimes relate to ourselves like that is who we are. No, I mean, it's a part of it, but it's the least of it. So why give most of your attention to the least of what you really are? Maybe the other, right? And the other is who you mostly are, which is soul. And so a lot of the times we want to prove things out by coming up with these really gnarly examples of, well, that can't be true because this happened to those people and you're going to tell me that. No, I can't tell you anything around that because I don't know what their soul's contract was coming into this experience with the theme that they chose to explore, one of them, whilst they are here. Because all of that, everything affects the whole, everything is connected. So it's not just that what that might do for them, it's what it will do for the whole of consciousness, for the whole of humanity, not just in this red hot moment in time, but for eons of generations to come, that you have no idea about. You are not privy to that. You don't know diddly squat. I don't know diddly squat about none of that. Right? So that's why it's important that we don't take on these really big, dramatic, blown out of proportion examples and say that, well, but this happened to this, pocket of environment of the planet or this population. Well, yes, it did. And it happened for a reason. Some of them as horrendous and horrific as we can imagine. But again, that is nothing to, not to say nothing, but it doesn't affect our soul. It affects the physical body and the personality construct, which are temporary things. But the soul has, it hits the ground running when it comes in, based on prior to coming in, prior to incarnating into this physical experience, it takes on and generates a theme for itself that it will explore whilst it's here, knowing the benefit that that will have on its own personal soul level expansion and how that will ripple effect out and touch all of the other souls collectively. You could say, the ones that you may currently be aware of, the ones we may want to look at it as generations and generations to come, and how it will affect consciousness, how it will help to forward and expand consciousness. But our minds that like to understand everything, we cannot even begin to come close to understanding anything like that. So that's why sometimes we have to, it's more important that we look in our own life. Look at stuff that you know about, not the person that you saw on the side of the street that you don't know them, you don't know nothing about them, you don't know the ins and outs, and even if you do, you don't know about it on a soul level. You don't, right? So look in your own experiences, and so that way it's relative, it's relatable for you because it's stuff that you have personal experience around and that you're going, that you're experiencing yourself, not that you're imagining vicariously through somebody else and, stuff that you just don't know enough about, right? So, the differing of opinion, the level of agreeance, that was the level of agreeance between you, which is the you that you relate to yourself as, and that's oftentimes the personality construct, which is like, ideas that you've come up with that you say you are this and you are not that and you are like this and you are not like that, right? That's in the realm of thought, right? That has gathered enough momentum that it is almost like palpable, and now and you believe it like anything. Like you really believe that that's who you are, and that's because you say so. And that's because you had it said unto you by all of those looking on to you when you first cried into this world, and you were told you are like this and you're not that, and you're like this and you're like this and you're like this and you're not like that, and then you take all of that on and a construct gets created, and then that becomes like a sort of netting or a sort of a blueprint or a grid that you then take that forms and you then look at life through, assuming under the assumption that that is you, that is a you, or the you that you call you. But that's all like clouds in the sky, and as well, and then the physical, right? Because we tend to think that this is mostly who we are, but again, no, it's the least of it, right? So the differing of opinion or the level of agreeance between you, the temporary physical personality construct you, and the real you, which is God, which is source, your inner being, the universe, whatever you want to call it, the difference or the level of agreeance, however you want to say it, between you and your source about anything, what you think and it knows, the difference or the level of agreeance between that is the cause of any emotion that you feel. Any emotion that you have ever felt or will ever feel is simply to do with what's going on in any given moment in time between the relationship between you and God, which is to say you, the temporary version, and the eternal version of you. And if there is agreeance going on, if you're both seeing it in the same way, and more importantly to say, if you are seeing it the way that the larger aspect of you, God, source, the universe, whatever you want to call it, if you are seeing something the same way that it is seeing, and it is seeing it accurately, it is seeing it as is really so, you want to go based off of what it's seeing. It has the bird's eye, God's eye view and can see everything. You have the limited, very limited perspective. And that's why it's not for you to be calling the shots. And you suffer when you try to. You need to let the source, the universe, God, your inner being, you need to take the guidance in the way of impulses and in however you intuit and interpret that guidance. That is what is for you to be going based off of, not your thoughts of what you think it should be. Because oftentimes those are based off of fear and how to make things go away and keep things at bay so you can have what you want by not having what you don't want, and you get all scrambled up in that. That never takes you anywhere ultimately all that good. Or it certainly is not going to feel that good, right? So anytime that you ever feel emotion, it's not about the thing that you think it's about, meaning the thing that you're looking at or the thing that you're up against or the thing that you're interacting with and you think it's them. No, it's not. Whatever you're feeling is about you. It's about the difference of opinion, the differing of opinion, or the level of agreement between the way God sees something for you, and really that is the larger aspect of you looking at it, and the way it sees it, and you looking at it and the way you see it. It is whether or not that's jiving or not, or to the degree that that is jiving, that equals the manifestation of emotion that you are feeling in any given moment in time. So right there, you can let them off the hook. You can let everybody off the hook because you get to know that whatever you're feeling, it's not about them. I know you want to say, oh no, but that's airy-fairy. And yes, it is about them. I promise you, it's not about them. Because again, they cannot cut you open and put emotion and feeling on the inside of you and stitch you back up and then now there you are. No, that's never happened. So, it just lets you know that you are that powerful. You are the generator of all of that. And it is only because you're so powerful that you can pull yourself away from what you want to call God. Because if you were right there looking at it the same way that God is looking at it, you would not feel any type of negative emotion ever. It's only when you separate yourself. And then after time, you can only do that for so long. And then you give in or you give up, and then what happens? Then you feel so much better. I hope that that's helpful. I think that that's something great to just keep in mind, just keep that with you as you go out into your life and consider, that every time you're feeling something, check in with yourself and ask yourself, okay, I'm feeling this. What's this about? Why is that feeling there? And remember this conversation so you can see for yourself it's not about all the people that you're wanting to point fingers at and say it's because of them. And really look for yourself. Okay, so it's not about them. What is it about? So you can remember, it's because I need to chill out in this moment. If I'm feeling some sort of negative emotion, because obviously the thing that I'm worried about, let's say, I don't need to be worrying about it. Because I'm assuming that there's going to be some sort of bad negative outcome, but then I'm feeling negative emotion. Why is that? Oh, because God, Source, my inner being that sees and knows everything, present and into my future, does not agree. It obviously knows something that I do not know. It obviously knows that it is not going to turn out to be a negative thing. That's the only reason why I could be having this negative emotion right now. Because if it saw it the same as I am seeing it in this moment in time, then I wouldn't be having this negative emotion. But my negative emotion means that I have split from, I have diverted from, or I've gone away from in my thinking that which God or my inner being, what it knows. So I might as well come back over here. I don't need to keep myself separated and feel like crap because of it. Because obviously what I'm assuming is going to happen is bogus. If I'm feeling negative emotion and it's because I'm worrying about something, obviously God is telling me in that moment, you don't need to be worrying about that. You're assuming that it's going to be this negative outcome, and you've got all this negative emotion going on. Well, obviously it's not going to be a negative outcome. And you know that by the negative emotion. Because if God agreed with that, then you wouldn't be having the negative emotion. You're only having the negative emotion because you're thinking something different than what God knows. Play with that. I'm sure you're going to have tremendous success with that after you really just get that down and get that in your system. And take a moment, and if you got something from this video, and even if you go out into your day and you get it then, and you realize, wow, this really made a difference for you, I would love it if you give it a thumbs up. It lets me know that somebody watched the video. It lets me know that somebody liked the video. Somebody got value from this video, and that's important for me to know. That would mean a lot to me. And please subscribe if you haven't, and make sure and share this with somebody who this could make a big difference for. And I will see you again. Thank you. Bye.